So there is an indie pop singer named Clairo. And right after the inauguration, on that same day, she posted to her Twitter, "Witchcraft on Trump ASAP." And girl, I feel ya.
Yeah, no, seriously. Hear the call.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen, of course, now the backlash from that Fox News. Like, they're like...
But then I've seen messages of support for her statement as well.
The interesting thing is, from as far as anyone knows, she is not a witch. She doesn't practice witchcraft. No. She's not... I mean, she could be. Right. But as far as we know, she does not. It was more just like a general statement. A general statement, call to action, maybe. Yeah. But... They're, of course, freaking out, and you know,
as Christians want to do.
Yeah, I think they now, for them, it's confirming that a war is coming, right. And that we're bringing it, right. We're bringing it. Maybe we are. Maybe. Hey witches! Blessed full moon in Leo.
And happy Valentine's Day.
We are so happy that you're here to join us again for another episode of Spelling the HEKA-TEA with Marcus and Evan. If you are joining us for the first time, you don't know, I am Marcus.
And I'm Evan.
And a little bit about me. I am a queer horror author, a witch, an activist, and I did say queer, but to be more specific, a very defiant homosexual.
And if you don't know a little bit more about me, I am a fiction editor. I am a legal document specialist. I'm an Aries, a witch, and also a lipstick lesbian.
So, 2 witches, 2 homos, 1 good time.
Exactly. 2 homos, can I say that? 2 homos, 1 cup.
2 homos, 1 cup. And welcome to our little corner of the circle. Yes. So, if you haven't been here before, and you like what you see, or you have, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
All those witchy things to help out our witchy content.
Exactly.
And allow us to keep bringing it to you.
Yes. So, excuse me. As we all know, the last episode, for those of you who saw, it was our In Bold special, and we have had 2 specials now. Well, technically 3. Our first episode
was a special.
It was a Samhain, get to know us, first time meeting. We've done our winter Yule, winter solstice special, which was awesome. And now we've had the In Bold one, which was the last episode. Check it out if you haven't seen it. We have our newest segment, Delicious Witch, on there for the second time. We only do it for Sabbats, and that's basically it. Yeah. But it's a cooking segment specific to your Sabbath celebrations. There's a delicious, savory honey cheese. I know, try saying all that. Savory honey.
Say deliferous right
Deliferous. A savory cheese honey pancake for In Bold. It's really good. Just a fun show, so check it out.
We had a fun time filming it. So
we really did.
You will have a fun time watching it as well.
Yes. And for those of you who know, or for those of you who it's your first time joining us so you don't know, we are a topical talk show for witches by witches. And we have different segments, different topics, different things we cover, all through a witchy lens, point of view, etc. Normally, we try to have kind of a few different type of segments, but this was going to be kind of like a thinner packed one because, in terms of different things, because our witchy news topics are a lot. Yeah. A lot has happened in basically the past 2.5 weeks since we last saw you on the new moon. So yeah, we're just going to get right into the chaos of witchy news. So first, there is a 2-day festival of witchcraft that's going to be in Milton Keynes, which is in Buckinghamshire, England, outside of London. The event will be held on June 14th and 15th at Scott's Sports and Social Club in Bletchley's, Selborne Avenue. People can camp at the site. There will be live music, trade stalls from across the UK, crafters, workshops, and demos. this will be the second festival after last year's very successful event, which did see some anti-witchcraft protesters, which that's such a weird way to phrase it. Anti-witchcraft protesters. I'm like, don't you just mean Christians? Right. Yeah. But they were quickly removed by the police, which that was a good thing.
Yeah.
A spokesperson for the event said, "Our goal is to give everyone, no matter their faith or beliefs, a safe, encouraging, and magical experience where they can learn all about the elements of spirituality and witchcraft that they have to share." Tickets will start actually at £3 only for a day pass. They really want to make sure it's affordable and accessible to witches and magical practitioners and everyone of all economic backgrounds, which I think is really great because so many of these things can usually be kind of costly, especially here in the US. So yay on the UK.
I know. I wish I could go.
I know. So again, Milton Keynes is a city in Buckinghamshire, England. And that, again, is going to be the weekend of June 14th and 15th. So if you are able to make it over there, or if you are in the UK or Wales, well, Wales and Scotland are part of the UK, but if you are actually in England, Wales, Scotland, or even Ireland, or even France, and you're able to get on the channel and go over, check it out, please, and take pics, DM us on our socials.
We would love to
let us see how it, let us see it. We would wish we could be there.
Exactly. So another thing that showed up in the news is some interesting census data regarding the percentage of pagans versus Christians, which I think is very interesting. So Christianity throughout the Western world is actually on a decline in both the UK and the US.
Interesting.
Yeah. And while pagan practice is actually growing. Yeah. So
snaps.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, witch talk, I'm sure, helps with that.
Right.
Because I feel like those videos really brought witchcraft to so many homes.
They really did. They really did.
Anyways, so U.S. pagans alone are expected to triple to about 3 million by 2050.
Nice.
Currently, 74,000 in the UK 2021 census identified as pagan, which which is up 30% from the numbers that were reported in 2011.
Interesting.
Yeah. So of course, just a disclaimer, those official figures are also likely underestimated just due to the secret nature of pagan practice.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that there are a lot of pagans who are not able to be open about their religion still to this day, unfortunately, that I don't think is something we'll ever see go away in our lifetime.
No.
So yeah, but it's still exciting that there is such a growing number of witches and pagans sort of coming together out of the woodwork. And
absolutely.
I think at this time in our world's history, that's something that is really needed.
Oh yeah, we need to get back to the old gods and nature and just the divine feminine, the divine mother.
Oh yes, absolutely.
She just needs to be back at the forefront. I think I mean, that's kind of, and I feel like that's kind of our mission.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what we're called to do, like, as witches in the 21st century and in 2025. Like,
hey, Mawa, make Americans witches again.
Right. Yes. Yes. Like, I think that
only our hats will be
Mawa for sure.
Right? Like, our hats will be purple though.
Yes. Yes. But I think that, like, I think that's a great thing. I
really do too. All jokes aside, I am really very excited to see those numbers because I just remember as a little witch growing up, it felt like I was alone. You know?
Always. And I think too that, like, the fact that we are having this revival, and to be clear, paganism and witchcraft and the occult interest by the public has always waxed and waned. Always, but it's always been present. But, like, you know, in the mid-90s, like in the 90s to the mid-90s, there was a huge interest and explosion in witchcraft and the divine feminine and reclamation, because queer people and women and other and occult groups and churches and, like, diaspora faiths like Santeria and voodoo, specifically voodoo, not voodoo, but voodoo and Santeria and candomblé. How is that pronounced? Candomblé, I think. Candomblé, they started making, like, going to the courts and getting, like, actually getting, like, their faiths and their practices, including animal sacrifice, protected and covered under, you know, the religious, you know, protection acts and things like that. And I think that, you know, there's always been this resurgence, and I just think that to see it happening again, and I think, you know, it's because it's a disillusionment with the neoliberal capitalist structure that we live in. And, you know, we live in a meritocracy. We don't live in a democracy. We pretend that we do, but we don't. And that's not just here in the US, that's in the UK too. Like, people are disillusioned with what has been represented by Christianity, by all these things. These are Christian values.
Yeah.
In the Bible, God is like, supposedly, I give you to man. I give you dominion over the earth and the heavens and the seas and the animals, and which is bullshit.
I know.
Because that is the value system that has created what we live in now, and the destruction that our entire planet is suffering, and our human brothers and sisters around the world are suffering under literally neoliberal, capitalist, meritocratic Christian ideology. So it's just, good riddance.
Oh, I know.
Good riddance.
Well, speaking of this place that we are at in the world, but also specifically here in the U.S. and our country, another thing that I did have written down was that I believe it was shortly after the inauguration, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But Bishop Marion Budd gave a prayer at the National Prayer Breakfast.
Yes.
Where she asked for mercy for queers, immigrants, and that caused a lot of backlash from evangelical Christians.
Of course.
Surprise, surprise. Where they are now calling her satanic. They're saying that she is a pagan. I mean, she's a bishop.
Right.
So they're saying that she's advocating for child sacrifice through the means of supporting trans people. It's just like
God. Oh, like gender reassignment surgery. Yes. Oh yes, I that's so stupid. I could see though how in their brain they could twist that to be like, this is the new form of child sacrifice. Right. Because remember, it was getting adrenochrome. That was the child sacrifice, and then before that, way back when stem cell research was becoming a thing, and they were like, they're getting the stem cells from aborted babies, and it's on purpose through Satan.
So it really just goes to show how much of a politically volatile situation we are living in right now.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
I know.
So following on that, in November of 2024, Amy Hardy McAdams of Tulsa, Oklahoma, gave the opening prayer at the city council meeting. McAdams is a third-degree high priestess of the Artemisian fairy folk tradition, and as a result, Christians got really up in arms, and they requested, and then after that, after she did that, then like the next meeting, an atheist gave like a prayer gave the invocation, but I wouldn't say it's a prayer because they're an atheist. I would say it was more like a very beautifully written plea to everyone's better conscience and higher values, blah, blah, blah. Well, this upset the Christians of Tulsa. Apparently, but mostly because of the invocation that was done to the Gorgon goddess Medusa. The city council has decided no more invocations before the meetings. That's not going to happen anymore, which is good because it should be separation of church and state. There should be no, but they always left it open to like where different faiths, different people, like people from the community gave these invocations. Right. So it was like it wasn't representative. Yeah. And this woman, Amy, she gave a similar invocation a year ago, and there was no backlash. Right. And there was no backlash from the council this time themselves, but there was from the Christians of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And they had some things to say about it, including Ryan Walters, who was the superintendent of public instruction in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He said, satanic prayers are welcome in hell, but not in Oklahoma. And Government Kevin Stitt said, Satan is trying to establish a foothold, but Oklahoma is going to be the shining city on the hill. Tulsa City Council needs to stand strong against actions like this, and Tulsans need to remember who allowed this at the ballot box. We'll address that in a second, but first I'm going to read the prayer, because I actually think it was really beautiful. So the prayer. As a priestess of the goddess, I invoke the Gorgania, champions of equality and sacred rage. I call to Medusa, monstrous hero of the oppressed and abused. I open the eye of Medusa, the stare that petrifies injustice. I call upon the serpent that rises from this land to face the stars, the monument of wisdom unbound. May these leaders find within themselves the embodied divine, the sacred essence of the spark of the universe, and the breath of Awen. Place in the hands of these leaders the sacred work of protecting the sovereignty and autonomy of all our people. Gorgon goddess, make them ready and willing to be champions for all in this city, not just those in power. Shine a light for them, that they may walk the path of justice, protected and prepared, illuminating the darkness. Endow them with the fire of courage, the waters of compassion, the air of truth, and the strength of the earth itself. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. May there be peace among you all, and so it is. I think that was beautiful.
I do too.
I don't think as a person of pagan faith, as a polytheist, it's the kind of prayer that I would take in, and I would feel wonderful that was allowed to be given. Like, I would feel welcome in my community.
Exactly. I just thinking about attending a city council meeting and having something like that read, like that would be so special to me as a polytheist.
Yeah, and again, it's good that in the end they're just like, look, we're not going to do any prayer. Right. Like, just separation of church and state. Great. The reasons behind it, though, are we're doing this not because we believe that, but because we're Christians, and this was not Christian. So therefore, it is demonic and evil, and we refuse to give Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma itself over to the devil. So we're just going to put a stop to this. I think also the fact that the governor said what he said.
Oh, I know.
Like, he should be sued. I want agree. Like the Church of the Satanic Temple, or like the fucking, or I don't know, maybe some like organized witch coven or the ACLU, someone to sue.
Yes.
Like, because you are a governor. Like, how dare you? Like, I'm sorry, but like Wicca, paganism, whatever, is covered anyway right now, anyways, under the Freedom for Religion Act. It is covered under the Constitution as a protected thing. Like, so as like that would be like him being like, you know, someone gave a Jewish prayer and it was like, we don't need this satanic stuff. Like,
exactly.
I mean, what the fuck? Like, no one would stand for that.
No.
Like, but people don't take polytheist people of faith seriously.
Exactly.
They don't at all.
I mean, it's just the same as like when people talk about the burning times, they don't refer to it as genocide, even though it's been the biggest act of genocide in history.
Right.
Like, because no one cares because the target is witches. I really think that we are seeing such a resurgence of that in our modern culture at this moment.
Agreed.
And you know what I think is really interesting about that prayer? I think that if it weren't Medusa and it were Jesus who was being addressed, like, no one would have had an issue with it at all.
No. If you were literally replaced all of the deific and witchy reference with Christian, they would have been completely fine with it. Completely.
100%.
Like, that's what's fucked up. But as you said, they think it's Satan.
That's what I was thinking of the entire time that you were reading it, and how many prayers I've heard that are Christian prayers that sound almost identical to that, and no one has an issue.
No. Not even the witches and pagans. Like, we are like, okay, like, we respect everybody's faith, so we're not gonna make a stink about shit like that.
Exactly.
Only fucking Christians and, well, fundamentalists.
Yeah.
Of the Abrahamic faiths in general.
Yes, that's true.
Like, it just happens to be Christians are the most vocal ones, but like all of them, like Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, they're all like,
well, because they all come from that tradition of what no other gods before me.
Right. Yeah. Anyways,
moving on.
Yes.
So speaking of Christians being upset about things.
Oh yes.
So Irish Catholics are currently upset over a Breed in Bulk celebration being observed by other Irish people for the 4th year in a row. They are...
Yeah, it's the actual put on by the city of Dublin. It's an actual event.
Yes. So a prominent friar in the Irish Catholic Church, I'm blanking on his name, so excuse me.
It doesn't matter.
But is making statements that the worship of Breed is quote unquote paper thin, that she has not been a figure in Irish mythos prior to Saint Bridget, which is untrue.
Not true.
Anyway, yeah, they've got their panties in a bunch over some people celebrating Breed.
Right. Well, and I think, obviously, clearly, it's probably more of that it's because it's an official parade, like it's an in bulk official celebration put on by Ireland, and Ireland is honoring Breed or Bridget instead of Saint Bridget.
Yes.
And they get upset over Saturnalia reenactments and celebrations in England and London. And Samhain, because in Ireland they now celebrate, they celebrate Samhain, and they do it in England too, and they celebrate Beltane now in midsummer. Like, paganism is like, yay. But obviously that's gonna scare the shit out of them
right now.
I know, but obviously that's gonna when, as we know, when the majority, or what used to be the majority, is now becoming a minority. And especially when, look, it has been witches and Christians since the dawn of time. Like, or pagans and Christians since the dawn of time. Like, but specifically, witches.
Right.
Like, of all, it's those who practice the craft that they are most hateful towards. And Because again, there are pagans who don't do any magic, who are just pagans. They're not witches. They don't practice witchcraft. They don't even have a magical bone in their body. They're just pagans. Like, yeah, for them, they're like, oh, that's still a witch, and all of a sudden they do witchcraft. But, like, that's because for them, it's really witches. That they're like, and when you're having all of this, like, growing, and you are losing to the faith that you continue to try so hard, and the deities you tried so hard to stamp out and erase, and you just could never succeed. Because they won't be held fucking down.
Exactly.
You get even more fervent in trying to sound the alarm and stamp it out,
which I really think is a big reason why there are a lot of younger generation people who are increasingly more conservative Christian.
Yeah, reactionary fear, God's army, blah blah blah.
Well, we're here with an army too.
Exactly. All right, in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania, a group of miners were leaving Colonial Park Mall. This was about a year and a half ago now, when they were attacked by a woman who presumed they were Satan worshippers. The team said it happened along Devonshire Road in Lower Paxton Township near the mall. The kid who was attacked and harmed the most, Carlos Vasquez, states, she just said we were Satan worshippers and that we all wear black and are going to hell. She goes inside of her house and gets an animal horn. She attacked and started stabbing me in the head. Carlos suffered a dislocated jaw and stab wounds, among other injuries. The woman, Christia Witherspoon Connor, has been charged with what happened. The charges include ethnic intimidation and aggravated assault. The trial finally starts next month. The attack was over a year ago. Like a year and a half, actually, to be more specific. It's finally going to trial. Yeah. And I'm horrified.
I know. And the biggest irony, I thought, in that story was that the teens who were attacked were, in fact, Christians.
Yeah.
And they were simply wearing black. And by wearing black, this woman interpreted that they are Satanists who need to die.
I mean, I was a freshman in high school when Columbine happened, and I always wore black.
Yeah.
I ended up on a hit list that, like, the jocks were doing when they, like, made their own hit list to scare, like, me and Shelly, my best friend Shelly, and the GSA that we started, and like literally put us on a hit list. But then the staff treated all of us as if we were going to be the next shooters. We would do a school shooting, and that's how back then it was. Like, if you were black, like, so it's just like the fact that, like, it just doesn't end. It doesn't end. It really like that was 1999, March of 90 or April of 99, April 20th. It was 4/20, 1999 when Columbine happened, and here we are. In the 2020s.
In fact, halfway through the 2020s.
And you have an adult being like, I'm going to stab and murder you.
Right.
Christians are all fucked up.
Exactly.
Not all Christians. I'm sorry. Right. I'm sorry.
But a large majority of you.
Y'all are nuts.
Oh, it's me again.
Yes.
So another thing that happened recently, and this is more of a minor thing, but I still thought it was worth bringing up. So there is an indie pop singer named Clairo. And right after the inauguration, on that same day, she posted to her Twitter, "Witchcraft on Trump ASAP." And girl, I feel ya.
Yeah, no, seriously. Hear the call.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen, of course, now the backlash from that Fox News. Like, they're like.
But then I've seen messages of support for her statement as well.
The interesting thing is, from as far as anyone knows, she is not a witch. She doesn't practice witchcraft. No. She's not. I mean, she could be, but as far as we know, she does not. It was more just like a
general statement.
A general statement, call to action, maybe. Yeah. But they're, of course, freaking out, and you know,
as
what
Christians
is this?
Want to do.
Yeah, I think for them, it's confirming that a war is coming, and that we're bringing it, we're bringing it. Maybe we are.
Maybe. Wink, wink.
So stupid.
I know.
But funny.
I feel like her comment was very like tongue in cheek.
Agreed.
I don't think that she was explicitly stating like, "Oh, I'm going to get off the stage and hex this man."
No.
But I think that she was expressing that she hoped someone did.
Yes.
And that's not wrong.
No. Let's see. Okay, so in Tajikistan, they are cracking down on witchcraft and fortune telling with up to 2 years prison sentence and a fine of 12,800 euros, which is $13,300 US. It is a majority Muslim country in Central Asia in a mountainous and impoverished region. Tajik police have stepped up raids against what they call parasites engaged in some of the most detestable activities imaginable: divination and witchcraft. Other Central Asian countries are doing the same, cracking down on pre-Islamic traditions. There have been There have been thousands of arrests. This is part of a wider stricter controls in the authoritarian country to curb radical Islam and to destroy ancestral beliefs. Last year, 1,500 people engaged in witchcraft and divination were arrested, along with more than 5,000 mullahs. So those are like village wise women, medicine women, who did healing spells. The fine, again, is equal to $13,300 US, which is the equivalent of 6 years average salary for a Tajik citizen.
That is just so mind-boggling to think about finding yourself facing that situation.
Yeah, and like having to go back into secrecy again to practice your craft and to make money, and yeah, terrifying.
Yes.
Followed by more terrifyingness. In Nigeria, an elderly woman on January 21st, I can't read my own handwriting, was accused of transforming from a bird to a human in Ogun State. The woman, Kehinde Ojo, was lynched by her fellow community members based on wild accusations of witchcraft. A prophetess from a local white garment church made the accusation, saying she changed from a bird to a human and fell on the church roof while she was praying. They recorded torturing the elderly woman on video. They recorded it and posted it all over social media, and no one has been arrested for it. This is fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
Just awful, terrible.
Sorry, I have an eye itch. Please excuse me.
Yeah, it's just fucked up and terrible.
Yeah, it's awful.
And the problem is this actually, like, it's very dangerous to be a witch in Africa.
Yeah.
And a lot of parts of Africa, and there's like villages where you're like, you are expelled to, and you have to hide in for if you're an accused witch in a lot of parts of Africa. And a lot of this is reinforced by the governments, and also and most importantly though by Christian missionaries from the United States.
Yes.
And we're talking your big mega churches, we're talking your evangelical missionaries, your life centers, they send out missionaries. They actually actively help write like anti-LGBTQ laws in these countries, along with anti-witchcraft laws. So they just reinforce and propagate. And the white garment Christians, you would be forgiven for thinking that they practice voodoo because they wear the white and the and you would think, but they're just a very extremist form of Christianity.
Yeah.
But they learned it from our U.S. Christian missionaries who bring their evangelicism over there in the later 20th century. We're talking about missionaries in the 90s, the early 2000s, the 70s through the 80s. Like modern missionaries have helped fuel what is going on in Africa with like constantly in places like this where people are getting still accused of just fantastical, ridiculous things and getting killed for it. So
obviously awful story, but I can't help but giggle a little bit at the image of someone like changing into a human from a bird just flapping down on a roof
and then falling down on a roof. Like basically she's saying that like because of her power in prayer, it somehow penetrated in the sky, and when the woman flew over the church, it forced her back into human and she fell on the roof. Like how did anyone believe this?
Actually, I'm like, I'm sorry, but who's the divination person if that's what your power did?
Right, exactly. Who's the witch?
Right.
Like whatever. So.
Anyway. So to wrap this up on a more happy note,
yes.
So there is a new exhibition on tarot that is opening in London.
Nice.
It is called Tarot Origins and Afterlives, and it is at the Warburg Institute in London.
Nice.
It's examining the past 700 years of tarot being used in culture. It kind of delves into past and present artists who have interpreted and reimagined the imagery of the typical tarot deck, and just different like interpretations of that same imagery and how that's changed throughout these 7 centuries.
Nice.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Again, I would go if I lived in the UK.
For sure. So if you're there, check it out.
Do it.
Let us know how it is. With that, thank you. And we are going into Astrology Mixology for the month of February.
Clink, clink.
So, if this is your first time, let me explain, because you're like, it's the middle of February, why are you giving it now? We like to do Astrology Mixology in the middle of the month. That way, you can find out and hear what's happened and what to expect that has occurred in the first half of the month, and then what you have coming now, because it allows you more to connect the dots and be like, oh, okay, like, that makes sense. I think it gives more validity to astrology when you have something to kind of look back on and go, oh yeah, on February 1st, that first week of February, I did feel that way, or this way, whatever, or this did happen, and I just like to give it in the middle of the month. I like to see where you've been and where you're going, and there you go. So, on February 4th, Venus entered Aries. This transit favors huge gestures and risks, especially romantically, but Venus in Aries can also cause us to be impulsive, especially when it comes to financial indulgence. So be careful, because Venus will remain in Aries until March 27th. Jupiter then becomes direct on the 4th. So if you have felt restrained or restricted in things that you've wanted to do, or places you wanted to travel to, now you are free to go forth and make those plans, start making that happen, and it will actually work out. February 12th, tonight, the full moon, which is in Leo. I'm a Leo. Yay! So this is the time to shine and be proud.
You always are.
It's true. Take credit for your accomplishments, because you should, and you should celebrate them. And this is a great time to do it and get the recognition for it. But frenemies may emerge from the woodwork. It sucks, but that's all right, because this is the universe taking out the trash. February 14th, Mercury enters Pisces. Mercury is very much a logic one and tends to get consumed by Pisces' constant whining. I mean, sharing of feelings. Feelings can easily be clouded into obscurity by all of the... feelings can easily cloud your ability to be observant, and see things objectively. But it also helps enhance compassion, empathy, sensitivity, etc. All good things for the month of February, especially Valentine's Day coming up. So Mercury is going to leave for Aries on March 3rd. February 18th, the Sun enters Pisces and joins Mercury in Pisces. Creativity, compassion, and tenderness will lead you and guide you until March 20th. At this time, tune into the spirit, the muses, trust your instincts, and give. Give any way that you can. Give the shirt off your back, metaphorically or even physically speaking, especially if you're sexy. Take it off. But just allow compassion and generosity to guide you during this time. February 23rd, Mars becomes direct. Yay! So the past few months, it may have felt difficult or hard to kind of get things done, projects going and finished, making you frustrated or feeling hopeless. But now you can finally move forward and make actual progress. Mars also allows you to finally express anger directly and clearly, so it won't simmer and build resentment inside of you and make you a bitter, gross person. If you have had family issues or conflicts that have not been addressed, now is the time to call those things out. February 27th, the new moon enters Pisces. And this brings a rushing charge of hopeful, helpful, positive energy. It's good for forming new bonds, new relationships, making new art, making big plans, creating new things, finally making new plans, because this is the time to start dreaming big and using the magic of the new moon to achieve them. So, yeah, think about those things that you've wanted to accomplish. Think about those things that you are working towards in the future already that you have going. And on the new moon, on the 27th, put it out there. Start the spell. Light that candle and burn those herbs and make those equations that you're going to do over the course between the new moon and the full moon. That make it happen. This is that time. This is that time. Going into the vernal equinox, coming in March. All those things it's the time. It's the time. We're planting those seeds. We're making those moves. So, yay, Astrology Mixology for February. There you go.
Yay, which brings us to our next topic, and that is the history of Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Of course, this is an episode that will be going live in mid-February.
Yes.
So how could we not discuss the big heart-shaped elephant in the room?
Yeah. I mean, it'll be 2 days before, so
right,
there we go.
Exactly. So I wanted to get into a little bit of that history of the day.
Yes, please.
So interestingly enough, Valentine's Day has origins in both Greek and Roman mythology.
Okay.
I personally know a little bit more about the Greek side, but I know a little bit about the Roman as well. So I will start with the Roman because it will be a little more concise. So on the Roman side, it originated from the Roman festival Lupercalia.
Yes.
That was taking place in mid-February. It was all about cleansing the city, ensuring fertility of the city as well as on a personal level. So that would include a lot of feasting. It would be a time when couples would be paired together. There would also be some ritual acts of a sexy nature.
Ooh.
Yes. So definitely something that you can really see the
influence.
Yeah, the enduring influence of that time of year.
Yeah.
And then, so on the Greek side, which is what I know more about, because among other things, I do practice a little bit of Hellenic paganism.
Yes.
So the first month of the ancient Greek calendar was called Gamaliel.
Okay.
And that on our modern day calendar, the dates switch up a little bit because their months all of the months had 30 days.
Sure.
So they're not always going to be the same on our calendar.
Right.
But on our calendar, it translates to roughly like sometime in February or January.
Sure.
It was like that same time of year. Interestingly enough, this year, 2025, their calendar and our calendar, starting with Gamelian, matched up. So the first day of Gamelian actually fell on January 1st, 2025.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So obviously,
cool.
with the fact that like it's a 30-day month each month, it does not align throughout the whole year, but through January, we were on the same calendar as the ancient Greeks, which
so cool.
I think is really cool.
Yeah.
So Gamelian in ancient Greece was typically where you would see lots of marriages taking place.
Okay.
It was known as the wedding month.
Okay.
And that originated because on the 27th day of Gamelian, was when it was said that the wedding between Zeus and Hera happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so of course that was where that festival originated, but as the centuries were on and it continued to be celebrated, that turned into a festival called HEKA-TEA,
okay.
which is about celebrating her aspect as the goddess of marriage.
Yes.
So that was still continued to be observed on the 27th day of Gamelian.
Cool.
And then oddly, the next month, so like whenever the 30-day period
Sure.
ended, that next month is, I'm probably pronouncing this incorrectly, but started the next Greek month of Anthesterion.
Okay.
And shortly after Anthesterion begins, then you get to the libation feast for Aphrodite. So typically, by the time that happens, it is in that mid-February
right,
point.
yeah.
So you're moving from like the festival of marriage, eternal love, into festivals of love in general, sexuality. And I really just think that because that mid-February point is kind of where those two energies meet, that really is something that that has been so enduring over the centuries that came afterward.
Agreed.
And yes, if I look a little sleepy on camera today, it's because I might have been celebrating HEKA-TEA a little bit too hard. Anyways, so moving on from that period of history, the origins of like the name of St. Valentine's Day do come from St. Valentine, who was a 3rd century Roman priest. So there's a lot of different origin stories, but one origin story that's very common is that the emperor at that time, Emperor Claudius II, had outlawed marriages because he believed that bachelors made better soldiers.
Oh, I've heard that, yes.
Yes, but of course people be horny, they still wanted to get married. So St. Valentine would actually perform like secret underground marriages, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, until his eventual arrest and later execution. Because, Claudius found out and he was like, not in my land, bitch.
I said no marriage.
Exactly. So the story goes that while he was awaiting his execution, St. Valentine wrote a letter to a young woman, which he signed "From Your Valentine." And that's kind of where we get the expression of being someone's Valentine.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. And then another aspect of our current tradition started in 1415 with Duke Charles of Orleans. He was imprisoned and he wrote his wife a letter. And it did just kind of lead to that inspiration of the tradition of handwritten cards. By the time the 18th century rolled around, it had become very common to handwrite someone a note of love around that time of year.
Right.
And then, of course, by the 19th century, you saw the mass production of greeting cards, which then kind of culminated even more so.
Because they needed a reason to make cards.
Exactly.
So they needed to start looking at the calendar. What can we make cards of?
Exactly. So, of course, in the 20th and 21st centuries, those traditions and celebrations really ramped up. And so that is where we got from, the ancient Greek and Roman festivals to what we see today of flowers, chocolates, grand displays of love around the same time of year that it has always been.
That is really cool.
That is my little spiel on V-Day.
Before we move on, I do have a little, kind of a little funny history fact to add to that. So, Valentine's Day, we get those sweethearts that have the messages on them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, those weren't originally a Valentine's thing.
Really?
The Victorians who gave us our modern Christmas, and literally, they were actually during Christmas, Victorian Christmas time, they would make those because doing confectionery in your home, things like that, were still very prevalent. And new recipe books came out. Sugar became available on a mass production level.
And that had never been
seen before. And so you could buy stamps, and you would make your gum, you would make your candy, your sweeties, And then you would use these stamps, and they would have, and you would press them, and they'd have messages on them. And they were actually used, the messages, it wasn't just like, oh, here's some fun, like, with cute messages on it. They actually were used to send secret messages at parties or to people you were interested in. Cool. Yeah, I learned that on a Victorian farm Christmas special. But I think I just was like, that's actually interesting that, like, because it's just now Valentine. Like, you would never get sweethearts at Christmas. Like, you would never get, like, but we get them for Valentine's Day. Yeah. But they were originally for Christmas. They were originally a Victorian Christmas thing. So, there you go. Valentine's Day. So, what do you like to do? Do you even celebrate Valentine's Day? Do you only celebrate Valentine's Day when you're in a relationship? Do you do a friend's Valentine's, a Galentine's? Let us know. Yeah. Let us know in the comments. What do you celebrate it? I'm definitely no matter what. Like, I'll take myself, like, if I'm single, I usually on Valentine's Day would still, like, take myself out. Yeah. Like, I would still, or if not take myself out because, you know, reservations, and fix green menus but you know, at least make myself a nice dinner. And like I just always believe, like, celebrate love even if it's loving yourself, because to quote RuPaul, you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love anyone else? But really, that is just true words to live by. If you can't love yourself, how will you love anyone else if you can't love yourself? Like, you have to love yourself first. So there you have it.
And if you can't love yourself, you have no business entering into a relationship.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. No. Yeah. All right, so next we have SpellCraft for the month of February. And obviously,
all about love.
All about love. All about love. We are not as we said before, we're not Wiccans. We don't adhere to the Wiccan read. You do your magic how you want to do your magic. And if you want to cast that love spell to get your crush to talk to you, then go ahead. We don't judge one way or the other.
Then that man, woman, or they better watch out because you're coming for them.
Exactly. So, to get things started, we have my selection. It's called the Grapefruit Spell. And this is really simple. Cut a pink or red grapefruit in half horizontally. Place both halves on a dish. Then sprinkle both of them with charged cayenne pepper, grains of paradise. If you can't find grains of paradise, then just get cardamom seeds or ground cardamom. Just cardamom. Just use cardamom. They come from the same family. Sugar, honey, and pink sea salt. And sprinkle that all over the tops of both grapefruits. And then write the name of the person you desire. Or if you don't have a name and you're just wanting to make it general, just be like, my person, the love who's meant to be with me, however you want to word it. But if you have a specific person in mind, then write their name down and stick it into the middle of the first grapefruit. Then you're going to write your name down and you're going to stick it in the middle of the second grapefruit. Then you're going to put either a cherry or a strawberry on top of both. Then you're going to stick 9 pink, yellow, gold, and or white birthday candles around the grapefruits as if it's a birthday cake. Then you're going to light the candles. You're going to say the spell of your choosing that you create, however you do it. Just make sure it's consistent because you're going to have to repeat the spell over some days. So make sure whatever spell you choose is consistent. Do the spell, then blow out the candles. Repeat this for 6 more nights for a total of, in all, 7. And then on the 7th night, you'll do the ritual, but instead of blowing out the candles, you'll let the candles burn all the way down. And then you will wrap them, whatever, up in something safe to either put them somewhere safe in the dark, like whatever, or, as I prefer, take them outside, take them to a body of water, or even to, like, if there's a trail or forest, there's just some place where you can leave the disregard of the spell, but obviously make sure to discard it ritualistically, because you don't want to discard the actual spell itself.
No.
And that's it. That's the grapefruit spell.
All right. Well, mine is a little less involved. Very simple.
Okay.
Mine is a Maîtresse Easily Love Perfume Oil.
Ooh.
And she is a deity that I often work with. Like, she's been one of my, I call them watchers, you know, those deities that are just very, like, omnipresent through your life, and you know that they are always extending a hand of protection. She's one of those deities for me. So if you are at a point where you would like to petition her for love, what you're going to do first off is start with a sweet almond oil.
Okay.
And then you're going to add fresh basil leaves and just kind of let that basil...
Almond oil, not extract.
Yes.
Just to be clear,
yes,
don't do
that
almond extract.
Almond oil. So you're going to add the fresh basil leaves into the jar.
Okay.
Give it probably, 1 to 2 days to infuse through. And then you're also going to add hibiscus flower essence into that mixture.
Oh, okay.
So that's basically all you're going to do. And you can use that in a ritual bath. You can use it as a massage oil, or you can use it as a candle dressing, however you would like to offer your petition to her. Yeah, and it's just something that you can make a batch of to have on hand should you need it.
It's probably good for going out too. Like if you're going
definitely.
out on the town and you're kind of wanting to hook up, flirt, whatever.
Exactly.
You could probably, I would say use it, anoint yourself, and draw it into you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that, and I love how simple that is. Actually,
me
that's
too.
like super. It's 3 ingredients.
Right.
Like that's awesome. Right. Well, thank you for sharing. So that was your February SpellCraft. Let us know what kind of love spells, seduction spells, friendly love spells, family love, whatever love type, friendship type magics you do. Let us know your favorites. Let us know in the comments. Just let us know.
Yeah.
And let us know your thoughts on love spells. How do you feel about them? Do you think they should just be general? Do you have an issue with like casting an actual like love spell on a specific person?
Mm-hmm.
These are things debated in the community. Again,
yeah.
I don't have a problem with it in terms of magic in itself. Now, I done a love spell or two on the specific targets? Absolutely. Have they worked? Absolutely. But in general, when I have done spells for love in my life, especially as I got older, it was really just about drawing the right thing, right person, right whatever to me. And in the end, I think that's just way better.
Yeah, that's true. I remember when I was in my early 20s, and actually this was a spell that we did together when we were kind of both looking for love.
Yes.
But of course, we were young and dumb and full of bleep. And so I think that, at least on my end, like a lot of the things that I petitioned for were like physical traits.
Yes.
Because I was not over a certain person whom I had broken up with, and I kind of wanted to draw someone that was physically the same.
Yeah.
So we did the spell. I very much drew this other person who shared those physical traits that I was very attracted to in the first person, but this person was batshit insane.
Yes.
And that's when I learned that when you are petitioning to bring someone new into your life, it really needs to be, yes, mention physical things because, that is what attracts you to a person.
Of course.
But you need to mention emotional, mental,
personality traits, values.
You
what makes the person.
Really do not do magic solely focused on physicality. I made that mistake and learned the hard way.
And I think, in my experience, a couple of times where I did do love spells, attraction spells on a specific person, on a specific guy, the 2 times I ever did it in my life, really early into it, like my interest fizzled.
Yeah.
Once I got them and then they were submitted, and then, unfortunately, those spells will tend to make them kind of puppy dogs.
Yeah.
And once that happened, and I realized that, like, what I liked about them and that attracted me to them, in essence, the spell took away from them.
Right.
Like, I no longer had interest. And then you have this person who's very much infatuated with you. And I'm not going to be like, oh, it's like Lyria in the craft. And she's like, once you release the spell, there's no one doing it. It has to run its course. No, you can do spells to break up a love spell. You can do spells to send them away. My favorite one involves raven feathers. Maybe we'll maybe our next one, our February 27th video will be about ending relationships. Especially ones that you find that you've created for yourself. Whatever you've done now on Valentine's will help you remove it at the end of the month.
Right. If you are feeling some Valentine's spell regret,
come on back for the February 27th new moon episode, and here we are. We will be here for you.
Yes, we will.
So there we go. That was SpellCraft. And lastly, so we're not going to have a witchy media review this episode. Because there was so much witch news that it just kind of got the better of us, and we really wanted to let you all know what's gone on in the past since the new moon. So
it's been a very packed time.
Yeah, as y'all now know.
Yeah.
And so in the last episode, the Imbolg special was long, and the episode before that was like an hour and 30 minutes, whatever. So we really just felt that we wanted to keep it short.
Yeah.
So we're going to actually end it. Don't you worry. We are going to return to the Crystal Kingdom and the castle on the Crystal Mountains to tackle Pagan Invasion, Volume 4, The East Seduces the West. That's right. Once again, we are back in the throne room, on the throne of paganism and despair, to hang out with
Chuck and Carol, our favorite bigots.
Yep. And look, this is going to be kind of quick because it really is just kind of like a rehashing. It rehashed a lot of what's already been covered
in
the other 2 episodes.
They just really cannot get enough of expressing their own racism.
Yeah, they really can't. So, look, this, off the bat, this opens up with the fact that America and the Western world was supposedly proudly Christian until the end of the 60s, the 70s, so civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, rock and roll, has now been replaced by a belief in paganism, Eastern philosophy, pagan gods and goddesses, and the Boy Scouts of America and even the Girl Scouts of America have what Chuck Sr., Smith Sr. dubbed a potpourri of pagan influence in their practices and how they earn badges, I guess, instead of pursuing their original Christian mission.
Also, I would like to know where I can purchase this pagan potpourri, because my witchy home could use some nice smells.
Right. Apparently, IBM, Coca-Cola, Hewitt-Packard, Ford Motor Company, Polaroid, Procter & Gamble, etc., all apparently force their employees to take part in occult mental alchemy rituals.
Learn meditations as part of their training.
Using your imagination and visualizing your goals is evil.
Yes.
And since that is being taught to
but it's
employees,
not evil when Dave Hunt does it.
Right, because we're joined again by Dave Hunt, because we're back to gods of the New Age. Right. It just, as I said to Evan earlier today, I am starting to believe that they were like, gods of the New Age didn't sell well in 1984 when it came out. So let's just take this one documentary that we based off of Carol Matriciana's book of the same name. Let's chop it up into segments and make a 13-episode, 13-part series out of it. Like, right. It's Carol jerking off on herself,
it
really.
It is.
Let's see. Oh, the World Congress of Hinduism in 79.
Oh, yes. So they get into New Age book sections in bookstores. That's evil. They also say that therapists need to treat people who have, quote unquote, ruined their minds with opening them to occult practice.
Yes.
So then they get into the Vishnu Parishad, which they refer to as pagan evangelism, which I just thought was a real treat because it's an oxymoron.
Right. Yeah, and this is an organization that it's kind of like a national Hindu, kind of official organization, that is kind of was about, bridging the East and the West, and,
But then, of course, they describe that as Hindu missionaries, which it is not.
Yes, and then they conflate the Hare Krishnas at one point with Hinduism.
Yes.
The Hare Krishnas literally are a cult of Krishna, and they focus on Krishna. And on top of that, they're kind of an offshoot cult that has really been denounced, even by the Hindu community, because the Hare Krishnas of the Western world, of the U.S. especially, have been tied to serious issues of money laundering and scams and child abuse, and it has nothing to do with Hinduism. But again, they're conflating offshoot cults of things, just like Christianity has.
Exactly.
And turning it into it's all Hindus and all of Hinduism.
I just feel like that would be if I were to sit here and say all Christians are Mormons and they all wear the magic underwear.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Obviously, that is not the case. So anyway, getting into that, at the 1979 World Congress of Hinduism, they said that a spokesperson said that their mission to
spread Hinduism.
Yeah, spread Hinduism, convert Westerners, etc., had fantastic success, and that Hinduism was becoming the dominant world religion and was going to be the end of Christianity.
Right. I believe the official quote is, "Our mission in the West has been crowned with fantastic success. Hinduism is becoming the world's dominant religion, and the end of Christianity has come near."
Yes. And then they brought up the 1981 Transcendental Meditation Conference, where they claimed that another spokesperson, who again is unnamed,
just a spokesperson,
right, spokesperson,
and they offered no documented proof of this event or the situation, and I can't find anything.
Right.
So.
But supposedly this person said that the entire mission of transcendental meditation is to counteract the demon of Christianity.
Right, the ever-spreading demon.
The ever-spreading demon.
Yeah, I mean, again, if they did say that, I don't disagree with it.
No, I don't.
I don't. I think Christianity is a demon.
Yes.
I do. I think it's a demon that has done nothing but cause wars, oppression, has been responsible for more genocide and death throughout history than any other religion, faith, whatever.
Yeah.
No. I again can't really find anything on this, but supposedly this is what they said, but if they did, fine.
Right.
Again, the Hinduism is becoming the world's dominant religion, and the end of Christianity has come near on the other one. So again, I can't really find anything about that, but okay, whatever.
Right.
But even if and the end of Christianity has come near, I have nothing against that statement.
Same.
Good. I mean, obviously, that was filmed in 84, and this comment was supposedly made, the end of Christianity one was supposedly made in 79. Clearly that has not happened.
Right.
But I don't see anything wrong with the sentiment.
No, I don't either. So then they bring on this lady named Prima Nayak, and she was a former yoga teacher who now is healed and converted to Christianity. So she states that yoga is leading people into Hinduism through deception, and that it conditions the Western mind into neo-paganism.
Yeah.
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 And just lots of insane blanket statements like that
to
put on.
There's more racism, that everything from the East is trying to covertly condition everyone in America to adopt a neo-pagan one world order.
Yes.
Getting a massage is evil.
Right.
No joke. Getting a massage is evil. Once again, they show children getting ready for nap time.
Right.
Just relaxing, doing relaxing things. Yoga is worse and more dangerous than hardcore drugs.
Oh yes, that was a gem, wasn't it?
That was from Dave Hunt. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Society has been destroyed by rock and roll. The only good counseling is biblical counseling from a pastor because of the fact that psychology / medical science is its own religion.
Right. Which is rooted in Eastern mysticism.
Yes.
And then he also went on to compare yogis to if the Pope said that the church was a scientific organization.
Right. There's more pushing, it just pushes a lot of anti-government, anti-establishment, Christian nationalist views that we are now seeing, we are seeing now. Like, this is the thing and why, when you're like, why are you watching this fucking show from 1991? Like, why do we care about this? Because this shit has now influenced all the people. We say it every episode. It is now, this type of shit is what the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Lori Bobarts, the fucking, all the Republican, all of them, this is what they're taught. This is the things that they absorb. And I mean, there are literally huge Christian influencers on TikTok and shit, even today, literally being like, yoga is a gateway to the demonic and to Satan. Don't do yoga, don't do meditation, don't fucking read your horoscope, don't have a crystal in your home, don't watch horror films because they open doors. Like, this is all still very prevalent and is what is informing laws.
Yeah.
So it's very important to understand, especially as pagans, as polytheists, as witches, as Satanists, as heathens, as practitioners of the occult, of the people who walk the left-hand path. It is important to understand absolutely everything in terms of what they see as a threat, what they see as evil, because it'll help us better prepare ourselves and navigate ourselves for what's to come. Because if you haven't sat down to actually read Project 2025 and then further follow what the people who co-wrote Project 2025 and Trump's Agenda 71 or 4, whatever the fuck it's called, there's some scary shit in there. Yeah. And as we've seen from the news, I mean, the Oklahoma governor, the superintendent of education, people who should not be, superintendent of instruction, people who should not be commenting on other religions and like their validity or if they're evil or not, like, because their position, like, they need to be unbiased and like represent all of their constituents, are openly believing and going out and calling to war and even saying that they think the devil is coming to have a foothold in Oklahoma. And they really definitely deeply believe that. That's not metaphor.
No.
So that's why we watch Pagan Invasion and subject ourselves to this shit. Let's see. All religions that do not submit to Jesus Christ as God and the Lord and Savior is all rebellion. And the 1990 film Ghost is also evil.
Yes. Oh, one of my favorite Dave Hunt comments from this episode was where he starts out saying that visualization is an occult technique and it's evil, but then he goes on to describe situations in his life where he practices visualization and then says that those are okay, but when you visualize changes that you would like to see happen in your life and then strive for those changes, then you are submitting to the devil.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of hypocrisy. There's a lot of, but if I do it, it's okay because I'm Christian. And so it's not the same. Even though it literally is. And how do you know what other people are thinking, meditating on, experiencing? Like,
exactly.
Oh, excuse me. Hypocrisy makes me choke.
Yes.
The film Gandhi.
Oh, yes.
The film Gandhi, which is just the bio of Gandhi. is actually evil.
Right. Pagan propaganda.
Promoted an evil new religion. Pagan propaganda. And Gandhi was not this person of love and harmony and peace and like equality and resistance, etc. But that Gandhi was actually a sexual demonic pervert. And that's what they teach. And they still, Hillsong, churches, all this shit, they teach this shit. Like, this is not, it's not like this is reserved for 1990 and that's where this, 91, and that's where this sits. No. This informs now. And they definitely believe that they're in the end times.
Oh, yeah. And
they really do believe there's a literal spiritual warfare going on. And demons are coming for them. For the little Mary Sue in fucking Butte, North Dakota.
Right.
Really does believe that literal demons are coming to attack her. And so she's drawing a circle of grape juice around her home to protect her.
Oh, speaking of warfare, Star Wars is also evil.
Star Wars is evil, even though we know it's like literally a Christian allegory for Jesus, just like Harry Potter was.
Exactly. But no, according to Dave Hunt, I mean, he's just throwing these gems out on this episode.
Yes.
What can I say? But according to Dave Hunt, the Force in Star Wars is Hinduism. And the entire thing is linked to the occult, and therefore the good and bad Force equates to black and white magic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he said.
What else? Oh, the minds of children are becoming weapons of the occult. And that there's a pagan new world order being initiated that, by Dave Hunt's estimate, we should be in now.
Right.
By Dave Hunt's estimate, my entire generation, your entire generation, should have overthrown the entire world and entered us into a new pagan era. That clearly never happened.
No.
I
wish.
Yes. Oh, and that children are getting occult supernatural powers and dedicating themselves to it via cartoons and movies.
Oh, yes, like She-Ra.
Like She-Ra and He-Man and Disney films, and literally anything with magic of any kind in it is evil. And then, of course, they had to end it on the popularest of popular notes, especially for 1990, 91. Dungeons and Dragons is evil. They went straight for D&D.
Yep.
Couldn't resist. I was wondering when that was going to come up. I figured it was going to be like further down the road in the Satanist shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I figured like D&D. I didn't expect them to mention D&D during the Hindu shit.
Yeah,
during the Eastern racist shit. But they did. Yep. They mentioned D&D.
They found a way.
And yeah, it's, as you can see, this review of Pagan Invasion, like we said, was not as long as the others. Because the episodes are honestly also just getting harder and harder to stomach and sit through because it's so racist and so bigoted and so xenophobic and so just narrow-minded and evil.
And they're also reiterating a lot of the same points that they made in previous episodes.
Yeah. I mean, just a lot of
repeat. There's no reason for us to repeat things we've already gone over.
Or show the same pictures of the same people again. Like, you know, they're kind of talking to the same folks at this point. Because like we said, it's more just like a Carol Matriciana jerking off on herself. Right. Self-flagellation. Not flatulation.
Flagellation.
Flagellation.
I mean, who knows?
Maybe it is self-flagellation. I mean, it made me want to flatulate.
When, I would actually watch Pagan Invasion with more joy if it was just Carol sitting around farting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really just, it really just looks like people didn't make their money back on Gods of the New Age back in 1984, and so they finally were just like, hey, how can we take this 1 hour-and-a-half documentary and chop it up into a 13-part, hour-long each episode fucking series? Right. And they did it.
They did.
And so, the next episode, episode 5, is the dawn of the New Age.
I cannot imagine what that's about.
No. I'm guessing it's leaving Eastern philosophy, though, because, like, the next episode is, like, about ESP or something after that. So, I think now we're getting into, like, I don't know. I'm just excited for the Mormons.
I know. I'm very excited for the Mormons.
Because Mormons are weird.
They are.
Y'all are weird, and you're a cult, and it's crazy. But you're all cults. And it's just funny that you're all from the same cult. But they all think that you're illegitimate and crazy kooks. Right. You are, but so are they.
Right.
Like, you just have magic underwear that goes along with it.
Exactly.
And apparently a really popular, like, crazy soda drive-through chain.
Yeah. I learned all about that on The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which I devoured, by the way.
See, I haven't started that. Is it worth it?
It's so worth it. I loved it.
I might have to do that. So, anyway, that that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Have a great full moon.
Yes, have an amazing full moon.
A wonderful Valentine's Day, even if you're just with yourself.
Exactly. Still,
celebrate
if you are just with yourself, which I am, still find that occasion to treat yourself.
Yeah. Celebrate yourself. Buy yourself some jewelry or whatever you want. Take yourself out. Make yourself a nice dinner.
Or just watch movies about hating love.
Yeah. Whatever you want to do.
Exactly. Whatever you want to do, I hope you have an amazing one.
Yeah, exactly. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, reach us on our social medias, let us know what you think. And always remember, witches, broomsticks, not just for cleaning.